you know, like they say never again, right? I mean, who knows? Maybe 15 years from now, if I'm still alive, I'll get some tremendous idea, and I won't be able to resist writing it. I don't think so.
So about people as you advise them to watch an opera or a kind of serial or so on, to do that.
No, I don't think so. Obviously, but you know, they're entitled to their opinion, I guess. You know, I think a work of art, a story, needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I have to end this story, and hopefully as well as I began it. We'll see.
One of the main features of your saga is that people's plots happening at the same time. Can you control properly the way in which the reader decides the focus of time?
The problem of time is tricky. It's been a headache of mine since the beginning of this series.
Maybe
my original intention, now I'm going back like 12 years or something like that. I'm going back to 1996 when the first book came out. Actually, I'm going back earlier than before. But my original intention was that time would pass during the chapters, and the kids in particular would grow older. You'd have chapter 1, and then you'd have chapter 2, and one book would pass, that's chapter 1. And then you'd have chapter 3, and another book would pass. So by the time you finish the book, like, you know, 5 years would have passed or something during the first book. Well, that was fine. It was before I wrote the book that I was thinking that. And obviously that didn't happen. What happened is, as early as the first book, chapters had their own momentum, you know. I mean, I wrote chapter 1, and chapter 2 takes place like the same day as chapter 1, you know. Chapter 1 is they're in the woods, they find the dire wolf pups. Chapter 2, Ned is cleaning the sword in the Godswood, and Caitlin comes in, and he's obviously cleaning it. He just got back. She's coming in to tell him that Robert's coming. You know, in retrospect, maybe chapter 2 should have been a month later. You know, it would have established a different template. But events have their own momentum. When you get a big series of news, you don't wait a month to act on it. You say, oh my God, this thing just happened. I have to do something about it. So I wound up with a lot of chapters that happened a day later, and the book required. That's why the time frame is the way it is. I then had this famous 5-year gap, and at a certain point after certain stories, I said I'm going to skip forward 5 years. And I worked on that for a year, but it didn't work. I scrapped it. It was bad. The chapters, I worked for some characters, but it didn't work for other characters at all. I mean, it was all flashback. So I'm writing it the way I'm writing it, and the time frame is difficult. I find myself changing the time frame and reworking it. You know, it's a matter of fitting the peg to the hole and saying, well, there's this, or I have that sequence of chapters like this, it's going to work with my sequence of that. I mean, there's two, I don't know if I'm giving you too involved an answer here to your question, or even if you're, I'm not sure that you're understanding, but when you read a book, there's two kinds of time. There's the time, the very explicit time, and there's the perceived time. Now, like if you set out on a journey, it's going to take you a year. But I tell that too, okay, here you are, you're leaving on a journey. It's going to take you a year. And then the chapter ends. Next chapter, you've just arrived. A year later, he got off the boat. Well, the explicit time is a year, but the perceived time for the reader is not real time. It doesn't feel like a year because it's going to turn a page a year ago. You know? So you need a lot of pages in between. On the other hand, you know, like if something is happening on Tuesday, and then something else needs to happen on Wednesday. And they both happen in Tyrion. Okay, what happens to Tyrion on Tuesday? What happens to Tyrion on Wednesday? But then if I have 300 pages of stuff with other characters in between Tuesday and Wednesday, the explicit time is just a day, but the perceived time is, it can't just be a day later, that has to be, a year later, or hundreds of pages that I've been reading. So it's a constant struggle as I deal with the time to keep the explicit time and the perceived time in balance. And this is all part of the writing process. This is the kind of issues that I struggle with. Well, the book is always enriching itself. I mean, I'm always getting new ideas and new twists. Oh yeah. Yeah. What happened to it?
How much of the work is planned? How much is left on it?
The broad strokes of things, the broad outline. I like to use the analogy of a journey. Like if I set out to go from Gijón to Gibraltar, the other end of Spain, okay, I would look at a map and I would have a car and I know where I'm starting from, I know where I'm ending up, and I could look at the roads and say, well, first I will go to Madrid and I will go to Laredo and then I will go to whatever. So I know the routes, but I don't know what will be. I don't know what will be on the next turn. Will there be a little restaurant where I stop? Will I see a castle on the hill? Will there be a traffic accident that slows me down? So those are the things I discover on the journey. The starting point and the ending. Well, I know the principal landmarks in the middle. Like I know I have to stop at Seville on the way, to Gibraltar, let us say. Well, I know that there has to be the red wedding, say. It has to be in this book, and certain characters have to die, and other characters have to be named, and that sort of thing. But I don't necessarily know what somebody is going to say to somebody else in the middle of a specific scene. The dialogue and some of the specific time touches are the things that I see along the road.
You work with main events, or you kind of
improvise the rest.